This match is now officially a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
Broken, thankless, push you down, open.
And welcome to Monday Night Madness episode 2. It is myself, Ethan James, here with the one, the only, holy shit, it's Trevor Davis. And you can find him at DJT Rev on all of the socials. Trevor, it's been a while since we've been back here.
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, no, it's definitely been. It's been a minute.
It's fantastic, though, because it's been a minute since we've done this, it's allowed us to be able to watch not one, but 2, and in your case, 3 episodes of WCW, or as the Hulkster says, WCW, brother.
Where the big boys play.
Fucking what a tagline that is. So yes, this episode of Monday Night Madness is brought to you by On a Forklift. You can find this episode on both On a Forklift Wrestling Podcast and over at World Championship Wreckage. Trevor, Monday Nitro, episode 2. Episode 1, we were at the Mall of America in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We're slightly outside of there. Episode 2 comes from Hotline, Miami, Florida. And it brought us what promised to be the hottest main event in the history of Monday Nitro, which kind of makes sense because it's only the second episode.
Correct.
This also took place on what happened to be 6 years after this, which is crazy to think that it was only 6 years after this, and it's been 22 years since then. September 11th, 1995 is when Nitro episode 2 took place. It was Hulk Hogan versus Lex Luger in the main event. But before we get to that, there's a very special debut that happened in this match happened in this show, and I didn't remember this happening.
Which one are you talking about? Are you talking about Alex Wright versus Sabu?
Specifically Sabu, debuting from ECW, the Suicidal, and boy, did they not let you forget that he was suicidal, homicidal, genocidal maniac, Sabu, hailing from awkwardly Bombay, India, which we know is probably the only time he's ever been billed from there, and I swear was just Bobby Heenan going off the cuff.
The commentary, I swear, the Mongo McMichael, Eric Bischoff, and Bobby Heenan was at the early episodes of Nitro was like the best idea ever.
It was. It's so stressful too because it's a chaotic shit show on commentary, but it just works, right? Like it captures that that early to mid 90s essence of like what you could say on television, but you're still, now you watch back and you go, why would you say that?
No, I can't. I don't even have anything written down to quote half the things they said, but it was just like the jaw dropping, the eyes bulging out of your head, and you're just like, did he really just say that?
There's so many things that get said in this. I literally, a note I have for this episode was 90s commentary is wild, just in all caps, because that's the only thing that you can say about it. So anyway, this match that begins the show, it's Sabu versus Alex Wright, a debuting Sabu. I gotta say something though. We know Sabu's career. Alex Wright, on the other hand, we watched him in WCW, and now not a well-known fact, but he owns Westside. I believe it's called Westside Extreme Wrestling. Anyway, WXW out of Germany, and they host the 16 Karat Gold tournament every year, which is a 16-man tournament, and I believe it ends in a fatal 4-way every year. However, Alex Wright was too damn good for WCW. He would, if you plucked this Alex Wright out of 1995 and you dropped him into 2023 wrestling, he'd be so fucking good.
He was, and this was before his whole dancing phase.
Yeah. Like this is Das Wunderkind, or Das Wunderkind. I believe that's how it said. That's the Alex Wright that we were getting in this. I really loved it. Couple of weird things about this match. One, they say, hey, and you're going to see a lot more of Sabu. I don't ever remember seeing Sabu wrestle again in a WCW ring.
I think it was a one-time thing.
I guess we're going to find out. I did not look that up. I'm going to be honest with you guys. And then this match, second episode of Nitro, ends in a strange finish. Sabu wins the match, inevitably, or wins the match. But then Nick Patrick decides to reverse the decision after Sabu puts Alex Wright through a table.
And then just turns into a DQ.
Yeah, he just reversed the decision. We haven't seen a referee in a while. And there's almost a microcosm of this episode that reminds me of what AEW is going through right now, where they're just trying to throw shit at the wall and see if it sticks. And I really hope that we've kind of hit that weird. It's funny that it's been 3 years with AEW now, but I'm hoping we're hitting like September, October 1995 with AEW right now, and we're going to see the NWO-ish AEW. Not saying they should do that. Please don't do that. That's a horrible idea.
No.
Anyway.
Oh, actually, to go back to the commentary real quick. Eric kept saying that they're hot. You heard hot like every 5 seconds.
They're hot in the ring. Like I have something else to talk about commentary here. It's the other thing on commentary is, so really quickly, moving out of that match, Mean Gene, Ric Flair. That's a very common thing that happens along Nitro. Almost every episode of Nitro, they put a microphone in front of Ric Flair, whether it's at the beginning, middle, or end, and he says the exact same thing. The enforcer, he didn't do his job. He broke the trust of the party, and I'll see him Sunday at Fall Brawl. Woo! And he does that shit, right? Talking about Arn Anderson. It is. But then, immediately coming out of this, WCW did something that AEW does now. Talking mad shit about the competition. Little did we know that at this time, WCW was actually going to take off like a rocket ship and end up surpassing said competition. But immediately, spoilers versus HBK, and I believe it was Diesel for the title on Raw. That was a taped episode. Bischoff's just spoiling shit on air. It's 95. The Monday Night Wars have not even really started yet.
But they were the ones that just start the fire. It's like, we're just gonna do this.
Right. And what better way to start those wars than put Sting, the epitome of WCW, against VK Wall Street? Trevor, what does the VK stand for?
Vincent Kennedy.
Wall Street. Yes. Not only did WCW take the shot at them with the VK Wall Street, and a very forgettable thing, because I believe he just becomes Mr. Wall Street after this. The VK gets dropped from it. But this is very in line with the TNA run of the VKM, the Voodoo Kin Mafia. Every single thing is a shot at Vince. And well, myself and you, I know we're not the hugest Vince supporters in the world. It just kind of proves what kind of grasp he had on the wrestling world at that time and how irritated people were with this whole thing. By the way, Sting wins this match.
You're just like, and by the way,
Sting's got the coolest fucking tights in the world. He's in green. He wins the match. And I honestly, in my opinion, the rest of this episode was very forgettable. Other than the ring, like the ring being all lit up underneath and stuff like that.
That was cool compared to now, where it's like the competition. Well, actually, we're just gonna say WWE has all the screens and stuff around the ring, and AEW is still doing the old-fashioned way of just the drop canvas on the sides. But for Nitro to actually have the see-through Nitro,
and it was lit. Oh,
yeah, doing the multicolored thing. It was totally 90s.
It was lit, Trev. It was lit. Litter than I am right now. Anyway,
It was litter than being the biggest hit on TV since the old lady said, "Where's the beef?"
wow. Yep. What a commentary line that came out of. Was that Bobby or Mongo? Because that was Mongo, wasn't
that
it?
was Mongo.
That's a fucking Mongoism. Of course it is. Anyway, the next match that happened, this really was the epitome of what early 90s WCW and then kind of late 90s WCW happened. A very blah match between Scott Norton and Randy Savage that ended in the Taskmaster sending Shark, one Mr. John Tenta, out there in his attire. Wow, what a fucking character.
But it was WCW taking characters from the competition of somebody that was already and just twisting the words and throwing it and seeing if it stuck.
You know what? It sucks too because I love John Tenta. I think he's done he did amazing things. It's unfortunate that he left us. You know, he was only age 42 when he died. That's crazy. 2006.
Wow.
2006. That is how crazy that is. Is that we were getting him at the peak of his career. 32 years old. That guy was in the ring and doing that. It was wonderful. But then we had the wacky ass Taskmaster. He literally laid across Scott Norton's feet for Randy Savage to get the pin, which led into the match at the end of the night. A very good match, in my opinion, between one Hulkster and Lex Luger. Kind of a weird match for Hogan in WCW because it wasn't just the same few moves. Him and Luger actually put out a pretty good match that night.
No, they did. Let me ask you this. What did you think of the entrance themes from back in the 90s? It was just like
hit or miss. And I mean, when it hit, it really hit. And when it missed, country mile.
I think I keep going back to like my favorite WCW theme was always the Steiner Brothers.
Understandably so. It's either that for me, it's either that or it's the Wolfpack.
Oh, well, the Wolfpack, yeah, but I mean, even though Hulk Hogan's, yeah, his theme before NWO was great. It got stuck in your head though.
Yeah, I didn't resonate with a lot of it. I thought WWF still always had the clutch on the entrance themes, and maybe it's because later years it's been beaten into my head. Like that their entrance themes were better because they're the one that survived. But I always did. I mean, that other than the DDP Nirvana knockoff song, because that was dope. Like Jimmy Hart knew what he was fucking doing. We'll talk about that in a later episode when we get into Diamond Dallas Page being involved in WCW. Couple of notes that I had from this. Hogan never got balder. Like, did you notice that? Like he was just from like 1995, he was bald, and then he's just never gotten balder.
No, he always had that
the curtain.
Yeah, he had the curtain.
Like that's the only way to describe it. It's like a shower curtain of golden hair. It's weird. And God bless Sting, because man, he held WCW together. They're in this promo battle at the end, and it's him and it's Savage. And as much as I love Savage on the mic, Sting is out there just absolutely masterclassing Savage. And Savage just has to look at him and go, well, and I respect that. And it's like, then shut the fuck up. It's over. Luger's on the team. Then they're like, why didn't Taskmaster attack you, brother? And every single one of them just said brother. That was like the catchphrase of it. Why didn't he attack you? And he goes, it doesn't matter why he didn't attack him. Like, this is the whole thing. What I think is absolutely batshit crazy is between episode 2 and 3, if you did not buy the pay-per-view and you turned on episode 3, you were just sitting there going, what in the actual happened?
Oh yeah, that was great back then, because not like now where Okay, just making sure my computer didn't just go
No,
haywire.
you're good.
It's not like now where you have the Peacock network and you can catch up with, as we're going to refer to the competition. Or if you're
That show that they're doing over there on the Queen's Court. Now they're a couple of years ahead of us, but you can go catch Bree, Mike Duplessis, everybody that does that show. They are also going to be here on World Championship Wreckage with the Queen's Court. It's a review of Raw. It's the first time Bree has watched Raw. Please go check that show out. Anyway, enough about the competition. Back to WCW.
but you did not know what the match results were. Unless you ordered that pay-per-view, you didn't know jack and shit, and Jack left town.
Yeah, you didn't know anything. So you turn on this episode. The first thing that you see, you get commentary, and then they're like, we're going to take you back here. It's me and Gene, and it's the Giant. And now here's the thing. If you didn't watch WCW Saturday, if you didn't see Fall Brawl War Games, you didn't know who this was. There's this massive hulking man, and he talks in his promos like this, and he's doing his thing. And you're like, okay, what is this? Now, looking back on it, you go, holy shit, Paul White, look at that. Big Show, whatever you want to call him. He was portrayed as Andre the Giant's son. Obvious reasons. I mean, he had the hair, he had the build, he was a big guy. Man, he was in great shape back then. But
Did
just
you see some of the moves that he did?
crazy
Especially
athletic.
Especially when he was getting into the War Games ring and he just grabbed the top of the cage and jumped. I'm like,
crazy athletic to think of where he was 10 years after that point in the WWE. It speaks volumes to being a young man in that game. Anyway, Taskmaster's involved in him. Kevin Sullivan's got this little pointy stick, yada, yada, yada. We talked about commentary, though. I got to bring something back about commentary that we're talking here. Eric Bischoff literally looks like an old Vince McMahon right there because he had the turtleneck with the blazer combo. And I'm like, you spent so much time ripping on this dude, yet you're wearing his attire. That's just... There's a lot of guys that WCW wouldn't have existed without and continued and had success without. Eric Bischoff's one of them. But man, some of his fashion choices, that leather jacket, that haircut, not great. At least Gene just wore a tuxedo through the whole thing.
right. The only thing I missed that Nitro set.
I did the walkthrough with the break. I don't even know how to describe it. Anyway, that whole thing, the lights coming down, oh, it looks so good.
Or even where the commentary team sat, they were away from the crowd. It wasn't until the fourth episode where they didn't have the backdrop behind them. They nearly just had it opened, but it was just like, it was great because then it made it look cool, and but.
Do you think that NXT would ever do a WCW set?
Not anymore because of what their sets are like now, with the whole Tignatron being as big as my house.
Well, so because they brought back the in your house thing. And the only reason I think about this is that NXT is Triple H's baby. And on episode 3 of Nitro, we saw a very young Triple H and a William Regal get taken out at the beginning of this as the Blue Bloods were taken out by Harlem Heat, the WCW Tag Team Champions at this time.
And put their belts up against
Scotty Riggs and one Marcus Alexander Bagwell.
The American Males, which that theme, them coming out, gets stuck in my head every time I hear it.
And what a wonderful way to continue this whole thing, because the American Males captured WCW Tag Team Gold during this match in one of the most awkward ways ever. It was a pump handle slam that ended up being reversed in midair by a very agile at the time pre-buff Marcus Bagwell for a pin. And you know what? Good on them for really innovating a spot like that, because that didn't go down before that.
Yeah, and you had Colonel Robert Parker come on and grab
Scary
Sister,
Sherry.
Yeah, Sister Sherry.
Sister Sherry, sorry.
and they just ran away like two lovebirds, and the only thing the commentary team could talk about was that, and then you just see Ba- Buff just see Bagwell just pin Booker T, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
That was, if we got to talk about a drawback of early Nitro, besides the like trying to find its groove, because I think you can kind of forgive Nitro and the early episodes for really trying to figure out what they wanted to present. A drawback that Nitro had in the early episodes was that commentary did get distracted a lot about what was going on outside of the ring and not so much inside the ring. And this really gets heightened when the outsiders show up because, once again, unfortunately, Scotty Riggs and Buff Bagwell are in the ring during that time, and nobody cares about them being in the ring. Regardless of that, American Males, they are your new WCW Tag Team Champions. Next match we have is almost something that feels like it was pulled out of
Actually,
1988.
Not the match. Next up, we have Ric Flair coming out to do another promo.
There you go. And technically speaking, he does yet another promo at the end of this.
He does.
In
he's
the
out,
ring.
He's out in his ring gear calling out Flying Brian for interrupting his match against Arn Anderson at Fall Brawl. Blah, 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 blah. Then we go to the next match.
Yep, which is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, who, what a banger of a theme.
And longest entrance ever.
Oh yeah, it's Undertaker would blush at that. But this feels like it was pulled right out of 1988 with Paul Orndorff. And then a young Mark Marrow, aka Johnny B. Bad, and the "When You're Hot theme. So you know what? I always liked Mark Marrow. Felt kind of bad for him for the whole Sable thing. Don't feel bad for him for this gimmick. That's fucking make it work, buddy. Just do your best.
Throw shit at the wall and see if it sticks.
Right. It is what it is. Serviceable match, early 90s WCW. Nothing to write home about here. Nobody got hurt. Everybody went home happy. It is what it is. We get to a really awkward segment next, though. We're on a beach. I don't know if this was the Baywatch crossover or what this is, but we're on a beach. Randy Savage is pumping iron. And then, in foreshadowing, depending on what kind of conspiracy theories you believe in, this is the first time Kevin Sullivan killed somebody with gym equipment, but not the last. I can't. Savage is on his pump and he comes down to his, man, what was it with Kevin Sullivan trying to murder people? He was trying to stab people with a fork last week. Now he's trying to kill people with the barbell thing. Guy's name's Taskmaster. He's got shoe polish on his head, painted like ram's horns. He's got the Hulk Hogan fucking hair curtain thing. Problem is, he's 5'6". Nobody would believe him. I think he was still married to a woman at this time. I might be wrong. I don't know. He's got a menagerie of people following him around. Just for as awkward as early 90s wrestling was, Taskmaster never fit in with anything for me. And this is another one of those things that where he just didn't feel. You had the guys that were like semi-realistic with like your Macho Mans and your Hogans and your Lugers and your Stings to an extent. And you're like, yeah, those guys are badass. Hell yeah, brother. And then you got the really carny Taskmaster over here. And I get you needed a bad guy to kind of like play the foil to everything. I just didn't see the point for it.
Oh, which, by the way, the third episode was in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Which is weird because there's a dude wearing a Dan Marino jersey, like in the crowd, a Miami Dolphins Dan Marino jersey. And they were in Miami the week before that.
Yeah. And it's like, how the hell did you go all the way from Miami to Tennessee?
I mean, hey, you went from Minnesota, Miami to Tennessee. It is. What's that? I've been everywhere, man. It was Johnny Cash or whoever it is.
Oh, I've been everywhere, man. I better stop because we don't need a copyright strike.
Yeah, there
already.
we go. We're under 15 seconds on it. We're good on it. But then, as a child, one of the coolest things happened to end this pay-per-view. And I'm not talking about the Ric Flair. No. As a kid, what did you love more than anything, Trevor? Was it monster trucks?
Oh God, yes, monster trucks.
Because Sunday at Fall Brawl War Games pay-per-view, the Giant decided to run over Hulkster's Black Beauty, which is like a 94 Softail Harley. But anyway, monster trucks, motorcycles. Like if you were a kid, this is the shit you were drawn to. I didn't give a shit about the gobbledygook or whatever the fuck was going on over in the competition. I wanted to see somebody run over shit with monster trucks. Like that was what I was drawn into. I looked at it and I went, that speaks to me as a kid. I want to destroy shit. I don't care that the Shockmaster's tripping through a fucking curtain right now. I don't care. It's a painted Stormtrooper helmet, and whoever's on the other side of it is probably covered in glitter and looks like he has stripper herpes. Not my problem. What I want to see is, dude, and the best part was he didn't just run over it one time. No, he ran over it and then he turned around and he ran over it again and then he backed up over it and then he stopped over it and Hogan goes up and he beats on the fucking door. Blah, 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 blah. Man, what's wrong with you? Have you lost your mind? And then he goes and he like burps the tire on it and shoots the fucking motorcycle out the backside too. I'm like, that was some sick shit right there. That's like, if he would have been able to say it, hey man, you're fucked in the head. That was my motorcycle. Why'd you do that to me? And he goes, ha ha ha, because I'm the Giant. And it's like that was the entire thing of it, is that he was supposed to be like Andre's kid getting revenge on Hogan for Andre. What a simple fucking concept. And they bring monster trucks into it. That's awesome.
90s WCW thinking.
I love it. I love it. And that's because that's what got me into wrestling. Like episodes like this, episode 3 of Nitro was one of those things that like grabbed you and pulled you in. And you're like, well, I got to see what happens next week because we can't just leave it.
When it gets to the point of when we get to the Nitro episode before Halloween Havoc, there might be a filler where we just do the Halloween Havoc right in between.
Oh, yeah, no, look, trust me, everybody, because this is Monday Night Madness, and technically speaking, we do like to kind of stick to certain things. There are certain pay-per-views we're going to cover. There's a Great American Bash I'd like to cover. There's a Starrcade I'd like to cover. Like,
but I mean,
most of the Halloween Havocs are going to end up getting covered because it's brought to you by JVC Tower of Power and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, baby.
Oh, it's also the only time that Detroit actually gets remembered for a fucking WCW pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Even though they did World War III at the Palace too, right?
And I was at both of those.
Wow, look at that.
But,
Trev, you've seen the next episode. Do you want to give the fans a spoiler of what is to come? A little teaser, a little appetite wetter.
I will tell you, it's in the episode was in South Carolina. There was one match that I got to until we decided, hey, we're just doing episode 2 and 3, and I'm like, stop. It was the debut of the one and only controversial pain in the ass that we all know today, Disco Inferno.
Yeah, guys. Hey, tune in next time as you can see me attempt to not hang myself while I have to talk about Disco Inferno. Will Gray, this is for you, buddy. And you know what? For Monday Night Madness, I'm Ethan James. To my right,
I'm T-Rev, the one that's going to start shit.
And as always, we love you, Judy.